What's up, everybody? You're listening to High Tea with Mel, Kelli, and Kay. If you're down for some unapologetic and unfiltered discussions from melanated perspectives, let's get this chat steeped and brewed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Happy Sunday, ladies.
Hello.
I don't know about y'all, but I feel like, I feel like just so sleepy. Like the what's that guy's name? Dreamland. What's the dream guy's name?
Dream guy?
Who makes you fall asleep and have pleasant
Candyman?
dreams? Pleasant dreams.
Sandman.
Oh.
Mr. Sandman.
Jesus Christ.
The Sandman. It's one
Yeah,
of
I
those
feel like-
mans.
I feel like he's just sitting over my shoulder like, bitch, you know you want to go back to sleep. Stop playing, go back to sleep.
Like you took a bite of Snow White's apple. Sleep, bitch. That's what it is.
Take a nap. But that's what Sundays are for. At least that's what I'm told by normal people. So, speaking of normal, this is a normal conversation. Let's get into some. I like these topics this week. This is definitely, I feel like, out of our norm.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to see what we engage with on this one. So, we're going to talk about public safety. Some of the tidbits I wanted us to kind of touch on would be like how we feel about safety as women and how we expect other women to approach it. Active shooters, aka also gun control, demographics, just our real thoughts on just like what the fuck is going on and how we feel in the scariest fuck moments. Because let's be real, there's been a lot of scariest fuck moments in the last couple of years. And of course, we're going to have our social media moment. And then we're going to wrap this sucker up with talking about some true Black crime stories.
Yeah.
This is, I'm so excited. So I'm just going to woosah and keep calm. I'm not going to hype us up too much, but I believe. So what were y'all's first thoughts on this topic?
My first thoughts was basically like thinking about the things I do while I'm in public, especially when I'm by myself, as safety protocols. So one thing I did start doing, and this was because Kelli had mentioned it like a while ago, like I don't even know what season, but it was a while ago, and she was just like, you should never unlock all your car doors. Just unlock your door. So my car does have a function where you can set which doors unlock at whatever command. So like on my key fob, if I just press it one time, so I change it over, because before, if I pressed it one time, the two front doors unlocked, and if you pressed it twice, all the doors unlocked. So I just changed it to like, if I press it one time, only my door unlocks. And the same thing with the handle, because I have the unlock sensitive handles. So even with that too, like I had to change that, because once I touch my handle, because the Jeep's manufacturing settings is that you touch your handles, all the doors unlock. So I even had to change that too, to where it's only like I touch my handle, only my door unlocks.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really thought about. And then I don't even know how long ago it was too. And and I found myself doing this as a very bad habit where sorry guys, I would get into the car from somewhere and I would sit in the car and like scroll through my phone so I don't have the urge to do it while driving. And someone had said that that's the worst time to do something like that, because you may not even realize people watch you while you're like sitting in your car, whether you're scrolling through your car or having a conversation on the phone. You're not aware of people watching you. And then it turns out that one of the places that people get abducted the most is in grocery store parking lots.
Yeah.
Or like department store parking lots, mall parking lots and stuff like that. Like very big traffic area, because even though we think that we're safer there because there's more people, it turns out that you're actually not safer there because people don't care.
They don't know you. And they're not going to remember you.
Right, and exactly. And it's like destination to location.
So true.
So people just get in the car, park, and get out the car to go to their destination. Like no one really cares about what's going on in the parking lot. So car safety, that's one thing I've learned. And gas station as well. When you're pumping your gas, make sure all your doors are locked.
Yes.
Because I literally witnessed one time someone like very suspiciously walking around cars while pumping the gas while I was pumping gas. But it wasn't my car. It was because somebody had ran in, and somebody had ran into the gas station to pay for gas, and the lady, like a dum dum, left her purse on the car seat.
Oh, God.
Are you
Right,
serious?
right. And she was so lucky that the pump was literally like a few pumps away from me, and I just like on the opposite side, but just like 2 pumps ahead. But I got a glimpse of her purse in the front seat, and I'm just like, and this guy was like suspiciously walking by her car, like looking into her car, and he kept like doubling back. So I literally stood there till I saw her come back out, and like act like I was pumping my gas, even though I was done, because I'm just one of those people. And it's a woman. If it was a dude, I wouldn't care, because it's just you're a dude. I don't care.
Also, he wouldn't typically have a purse,
right? Or some type of duffel, whatever. But
also, like in New York, why the fuck would she leave anything in her car?
It's not just the fact that
It
it's New
doesn't
York.
matter.
It's the fact that what part of the area it in. Like, I work in a predominantly very Jewish neighborhood, so a lot of Jews think that they're safer because it's their neighborhood, and it's like, no, it's not like
it's
that.
Still New York.
It's an intersection of many other neighborhoods, and unfortunately, there's a few, not a lot, but there's a good majority of homeless people in that area as well. So it's like, come on. And the guy was just asking for money. So it's just like, come on. And I'm sure if I had drove out that station, he probably would have tried to, either if her doors were unlocked, or he would have smashed that window and took her bag.
1000%.
Yeah. Right. And when he realized that I was like watching him, he like walked off. He like finally walked off and like walked to like the next gas station, because there's 3 gas stations on that row. And I told her, and I'm just like, ma'am, there was a guy circling your car. You left your purse on the seat. And she was just like, oh my God. And I'm just like, yeah, you can't do that. And I'm just like, I literally stood here watching him to make sure he doesn't like break into your car and steal your purse.
You know, the thing that gets me all the time, you just saying that brings up something that I just saw a few weeks ago. And it happens a lot during the summer, which I can't even understand because it's so damn hot outside. But the fact that people leave their freaking kids in the back seat, whether the parents are going inside to either grab their food or pump the gas or go pay for something, they leave their kids locked in their back seat of the car. And the other day, I just so happened to see a kid that was in their car seat, probably about 3 years old, and was just crying. The windows weren't cracked. The car wasn't left running, anything. Like, he was just in there alone. And the mom, I could see the mom, because I did see when I was pulling into the parking space, she had gotten out of the car and she had run in real quick, but she was stopped and she saw, I guess, a friend walking into the same store.
Oh, God.
And they were chatting?
They were just chatting. And it's like, your kid is sitting in this car by themselves. If I was a bad person and had bad intentions and pulled up right beside your car, I could have just gotten your keys from the ignition and taken your car.
So wait, she left the keys in the ignition but didn't leave the car on?
No.
What?
Yeah.
So you want your child to be taken?
You want everything to be taken.
Oh, no.
You want not even just a purse that's like a material item. You want somebody that you carry for 9-10 months taken.
Car, child, everything gone.
That's crazy.
Whole life.
No sense.
That is nuts.
No.
Listen,
but you know
our
what?
generation had the same shit though, because I definitely was left in the car a number of times, but my dad left the car. Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, but at the same time, like, it's so hard to like judge that situation as well, because it kind of reminds me of the 20-something-year-old that had the kids, and she left her 3 kids in the motel down the street while she went to work. It kind of reminds me of one of those type of situation where it's just like, we don't know your circumstance. I mean, the kid could have been sleeping and, and just happened to wake up in that same moment that you saw him or her crying, and it's like, it's like my kid finally went down for a nap today. I don't want to disturb him. I just want to run in and get what I need and come out.
Exactly.
So there's like desperations behind it, you understand? So for me, it's just like I look at it from that side as well. But the ones that I don't understand, it's like it's the blazing fucking heat, and you just left your kid in there
with the car off.
like the Asian woman who just left her kid in the car and just like
Yep.
went shopping. And
A guy in Charlotte, he dropped his kid off and accidentally left the kid in the backseat of his car at work all day, car off.
yeah, he forgot that he
Yeah,
because
the child died.
Yeah, he was supposed to drop off both kids to school. He dropped one off to school and literally was in a rush and forgot he didn't drop off
Bank
the
of
baby
America
to daycare
employee.
all day.
And yes,
in
he
the Bank of
forgot
America
he
parking
did.
lot.
Yes, he
Shut
forgot
up.
he did not drop off the baby to daycare. He dropped off the preschooler and completely forgot about the baby that had to go to daycare. And it turns out that it's not something that he regularly does. It's his wife that normally drops them off.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, I know, but
you're
it's just like you're a parent. How do you
you don't
forget
just
about
forget
your baby?
a child. Oh my god. See,
Or
that pisses me off.
time plan better.
Or also, why does he not try to do that? Why isn't he doing that more?
Because that's a woman's job. That's what
because
he's
too many
expected.
relationships have like set specific gender roles where women, and you know, a lot of these people are very traditional in their relationships where it's just like no. You have the vagina, right? You have the vagina. You pushed out the kids. That means you take care of the kids.
No, I went through emotional and physical trauma to give you a child and actually survive the birth and gave you the child. So now we're going to do this together because I've done a lot and I'm going to be tired for the rest of my life. So, no. But anyways, not like even like my thought process didn't even go that deep. I know as a person without a child how just taking my purse into the store feels like a fucking endeavor sometimes. Because y'all know I have big ass purses, and I just feel like I don't want to be taking the whole shit in there sometimes. Certain neighborhoods, I don't give a fuck. I'll put it in the back seat. There's nothing of value in my car. I can replace a car window, but in certain neighborhoods, I would never. Like I was like New York. What the fuck? I don't care what part of New York. 5 boroughs, Long Island. Hell no.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a purse carrier. Like, I have my purse with me, but I don't carry it into the store with me. So, what I do is, like, I normally just take my wallet, my car keys, my phone, the necessities to go into the store. So, what I normally do in order to, like, protect and hide the purse out of sight, out of line, whatever, is that you put it on the floor behind your passenger seat and slightly recline the seat. And if you have something like black, so I always have, like, a little small black raincoat in my car. So that raincoat always sits in my back seat. So what I do is that I tarp that over. So my car interior is already all black. I have black mats, black seats, black trimming. So it's perfect. And my bag that I normally use the most is black. So it just tucks away nice and safely into that corner. And we all have SUVs, so they're a little bit taller. So you would literally have to be peeking in somebody's car to see what they have when you have an SUV.
And my back windows are tinted.
Right, and mine's as well too. So it's like, it's a good situation. So
I think as we're talking about this, I guess to transition a little bit, let's speak to the different like demographic and neighborhoods with safety in mind. Like, what neighborhoods do you typically feel the more comfortable and the less comfortable, and why?
None. Absolutely none. Because I don't think about it as like a black or white or whatever, or if the neighborhood's safe, nothing can happen. Because sometimes in the most safest neighborhoods, it's crimes happen as well. They just don't get reported the same way. Because there's so many times where you hear about, like, perfect example of this. I was watching while I was cooking dinner one night. I was watching somebody like do like one of those true crime podcast things, and they were talking about the OJ Simpson trial and whatever. So even though we've already heard about this thing a million times, then it turns out that there has been new evidence that have came out within the last couple of years saying that how Nicole Simpson had a diary. And it turned out that she was documenting their whole entire relationship in her diary from when they got, from the time that they got married all the way up to like when they got divorced the second time. So it turned out that in that time, he was very abusive towards her, and she had documented eight specific phone calls that she made to the cops, 8 specific times that she called the cops on him, and I think it was like about like 3 or 4 of those times there was physical abuse of battery. There was physical evidence of battery towards her. Those times, and out of those times where the cops were actually called, there was only about 3 actual police reports filed about the domestic assault.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so that shows you, even in those type of situations where it's like rich people who live in like these super upper class, majority white neighborhoods, how they get away with things like this as well, where it's like, and then cops are also very lazy. They don't want to write down those reports. Like, they just want to report, like, get a call, answer it, keep it pushing, whatever. No one wants to go back to their desk and have to fill out the end of their shift report about all their calls that they got. So a lot of them just sweep it under the table. And in a situation like that, OJ had a lot of connections to police. Like, he was really good friends with one of the sheriffs in that county. So it's just like, anything can happen, regardless if it's like an upper scale, white, rich neighborhood, a middle class, upper middle class neighborhood, poor neighborhoods. It doesn't really matter. I mean, crime is crime. Yeah. It just all depends on if that police officer or whoever, detective, whoever decides to sit down at their desk and file that police report at the end of the night.
Yeah, but there's still and you can disagree or agree, but I feel like there's still, and not even saying it's based on racial things. I think definitely class does come into that, but there's different types of uncomfortability in safety concerns, and different neighborhoods bring out different feelings. Mm-hmm. So, like, while I'm not too worried as much if I know if I lock my car door, there's nothing visible in my car. If I'm in an upper class neighborhood, they don't give a fuck about my car. Yeah. They make sure there's no homeless on their corners because they're not playing that shit. And they make sure the cops do it. So the people who typically who are quote unquote suspects are not the people I'm seeing. Now the sketchy white dude walking down the corner in these affirmated neighborhoods, I'm gonna be looking at him and be like, where you going, B?
No, I completely get it. And that now you have people who are doing things for clout and stuff like that are perfectly comfortable breaking people's car windows just to film that shit and put it on TikTok. So it's just like,
and in those neighborhoods, those are who I be looking at, the dumb, rowdy, fratty, influencer. Oh, I'm super cute, only on the gram type people. I'm gonna be looking at them in those type of neighborhoods. They can't do that in the hood though, because they will get robbed immediately. Exactly. So it's like two different feelings of what you have to be mentally prepared for when you're in certain areas, especially as us.
Yeah, but even to that, like, I can say, like, even to here, where it's just like you're in, where I'm living in a city where it's like you go 2 blocks and you'll find a different type of neighborhood, and even to like the more, what I want to call it, like lower middle class, poorer neighborhoods, there's still like Bentleys and Mercedes and all these stuff like that parked on almost every single street corner. Mm-hmm. So even if there's people like that are on welfare that drives Benz, so it's just like it doesn't really make a difference here. And half the time, you can take your chances and you be perfect. Your car would be perfectly fine because you find them everywhere at this point. You'll find like somebody's luxury car or something like in the mid almost luxury range on every every street corner at this point.
Very true.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's just, you basically just have to go with your gut. If you feel uncomfortable, don't park there. And if you definitely feel uncomfortable, don't go there. Why are you there in the first place?
Some people don't have gut, which is the terrifying part.
Oh, yeah. Lord.
Yeah, I've had to tell my own father, do not leave this cell phone in this goddamn car. We are leaving the car. Do not take your cell phone. Mm-hmm. Do not just leave that shit there. He's like, oh, I do that all the time at home. All right, well, you're not home.
There's the part that I don't understand, right? Like, and I'm pretty, like, we're all very tidy when it comes to our personal spaces, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a person who's very OCD with my car. I don't like leaving anything visible.
Yeah.
In my car, even if it's a charger or anything like that. Like, I don't like leaving things visible. unless it's what the car is produced with. That's a different story. But other than that, like, I don't even think you should leave like a cell phone cord like there, like bottles there, like none of that stuff there. Like, I don't feel like items should be visible when you're not in your car. Period. Your car should look like it's brand new, fresh off the lot. There shouldn't even be a paper on the floor.
Well, that's all nice and dandy to say, but at the end of the day, that's not reality for most people,
I know, but
including myself. My car is actually very clean for a quote unquote woman, but I still fucking leave just random crumbs and shit in my car because it's my goddamn car.
no, I don't mean like crumbs. I mean like
No, I mean I'm just saying like
yeah.
I like if you look at my car right now, there's a spray bottle of hand sanitizer and a chapstick sitting in the front of my car. That's all you see in the front of my car.
Those are little items. Who's gonna break into your car for damn chapstick? Like,
I mean,
people do.
I think the thing that
I've had people breaking in my car for less.
What? Lord,
Richmond is wild.
Oof. I think the bottom line is, though, if you look into your car windows and you can tell that something in your car could be of value to somebody else, then you should probably take it out.
And you don't even realize it. Like
an umbrella.
I'll give the example
to a homeless person.
Right. I can give you the example of this. So Melissa knows my neighborhood. It's very quiet. There's many families living on this on this street and stuff like that. Every house. There's at least like 2 generations living in it, and whatever the case is. It's a very like quiet residential neighborhood though. So I think it was like last summer, my sister literally pulled up in front of my house, and my house has a hydrant that's right in front of it, right? And we also have one of those Ring video bell cameras, right? And it records everything. So my sister literally went in the house, dropped off her groceries, stayed upstairs for like 5 minutes. She had her car off and everything, but she didn't lock the car. So my sister drives a Benz SUV, right? And a hooligan was driving by, and the car was there. And he like literally dropped his bike in front of the house, ran back to the car, and like jiggled the handle. It wasn't locked, so he went in, searched around for what he searched around for, took her iPod case. She didn't have the earpods in the case, but she took the earpods. It was my nephew's earpods, mind you. He left the case in the car but had the headphones in his ears. Took the case and like 2 chargers that was sitting there, and her coin bag, and that's it. Because that's all she had in the car at the time, because she had just cleaned her car a couple days ago. And all of that was caught on camera.
Wow.
So yeah, so even in neighborhoods that you technically live in or you technically trust with all your heart, you definitely shouldn't leave things in your car, especially things of value, especially visible. And she literally ran in the house for like 10 minutes, stayed 10 minutes, and then came back and left again.
Well, it's just like how they say, you can get into a car accident usually between 5 to 2 minutes of your house. So you can get anything stolen right at your driveway.
Exactly. Even in your own driveway. It's crazy.
Yeah. Crime has no boundaries.
It doesn't. No.
It is a free-for-all. But then I also thought about, I've been saying this term, and I just made it up when I was younger, Hollywood homeless. That is what I have termed the people who are on the street corner asking for money, sometimes even doing, like I know in Baltimore, they have an issue with young kids doing the wiping your windshield down and trying to clean it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've tended to never want to help out, even though I'm like a giver by nature, but I am very skeptical when it comes to quote unquote homeless people on the street corner, because those, whether or not they have like a mental issue, but you don't know what could happen. And it happens to a lot of women where they're just generous. They want to give the person $5, but that person makes a big old turn and has a gun or a knife in their pocket, slits their throat right at the stoplight. It's happened many times in Philadelphia, and it happened many times in Baltimore. I remember it. And unfortunately, you have to be cautious of it. And I feel really bad, but at the same time, you have to think about yourself first. You can't be just willy-nilly giving up anything to anybody now. And it goes back to also when we were talking about kids being left alone in the car, and even how we grew up, we were left at home alone.
Mm-hmm.
whether or not it was with a sibling or just by ourselves. And I know as an only child, my mom and dad left me at home probably starting when I was 10 years old or 11
Oh
years
yeah.
old, just
Shit,
for them to
before
run a
that.
quick errand.
Yeah, same here.
But I will also say that compared to now, probably like 2005 up until now, life was so much more easygoing and safe when we were growing up in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation with my own mom how them growing up in the 50s, 60s, their parents would leave the door wide open. No
Mm-hmm.
lock, the door's just open. If their friends
Mm-hmm.
came over, hey, so
Mm-hmm.
and so, you want to come to the house? Just come on in.
The
Like,
door is open.
yeah, the door is literally always open.
Yep.
And I was so flabbergasted when I first heard my
Yeah.
mom tell me that, but it's true because there was nothing going on like there is now.
No,
Mm-hmm.
no,
But
no. There was shit going on.
no,
It was
yes,
a
there
shit ton of shit going on.
It was just
Because
there was.
everything pre 2000s was the wild, wild motherfucking West. It just got a little bit more rules every year, but
Right.
the 90s were wild. They were
Oh,
just
they were
slightly
wild.
less wild than the 80s, but still very cocaine driven. Motherfuckers
Mm-hmm.
were still getting chopped up out here in these streets.
Oh
We
yeah.
just didn't know. We didn't have the
Right.
internet spewing everything at us every 5 minutes of what the fuck is going on
Well,
all
and that
the
was the thing.
time.
It was like we were more naive to the fact.
Oh
And
yeah.
as
Yes.
stupid as that sounds, yes. But at the
Ignorance
same
can be
time,
bliss.
yes. And we did come out fine. We are fine. But I would never in this day and age have a kid, my god kids, anybody. I would never leave them in a car. I would never leave them home alone. I don't know what's going to happen. Like that person's
Mm-hmm.
going to be tethered to me without a
Yep.
leash because I don't believe in that. But
I will leash a toddler.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of guns, I know I have mixed feelings about it. From a moral standpoint, as far as gun control, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think guns should even be on the table. Like, I think it's one of the worst inventions ever done. In my wholehearted opinion, you can't hide a 10-inch blade on your chest. Like, I can't do that. Like an actual murderous weapon on the same caliber as a gun, you can't hide those items as cleanly as you can a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the terrifying part to me. Like, I think it's one of the worst things we've ever done to human society is bringing that into the equation, because we're giving power to those who don't need nor deserve that control
Yeah.
over people. And people are taking those guns and making it their whole mantra and way of life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the part that I'm like, nah, dog. Like,
Yeah.
there's way more options in life. And don't get me wrong, I usually love to hear that people choose violence because that's just how my mind is. But in reality, I don't choose violence. I choose my words. I choose different forms of communication to get my point across and to get what I want out of situations.
Yeah.
Keyword, I've had one fight in my life. I don't actually do violence. If people choose violence, I'm going to enjoy watching it because I do enjoy watching violence. But at the end of the day, I'm not Joker. I'm not about to start causing chaos out here in these streets just because.
Right.
So it's like that side of it. But then you also have but if a motherfucker tries to kill me and mine, I need to have a fair chance.
Right.
Like, I got my mom living by herself in middle of fuck bumfuck nowhere, and she hearing bumps in the night. Well, bitch, first of all, that's a problem because in the country you shouldn't be hearing shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of living in the country.
Except it's in a big
crickets.
field.
That's all you should be hearing.
Yeah, you should be hearing crickets, a little bit of grasshoppers, maybe some deer rustling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you should be hearing nothing. Maybe a car driving down because you're on a road. You're there on roads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, ma'am. I'm gonna need you to go get a class, and then go get your actual permit
Mm-hmm.
and be licensed. But I'm gonna need you to get some handle on that, or find someone to help you handle that. Dial a friend, someone who has a gun who you trust to have your best will at heart.
Responsibly.
Responsibly,
Right.
if it's not going to be you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff like that where I'm like, yo, motherfuckers are out here literally hijacking people on the street or on the highway because they feel like it and they feel racially in charge to do so, or they just feel in charge to do so. Like, it's wild out here in the street. So to Kelly's point, the other half of it is how else am I to protect myself when they got the same things I got?
Yeah.
Or could get.
Yep.
Plus, I'm down here in country bumfuck USA, and they're like all about the guns down here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's about to open carry.
Shit, Dad is ready. The war can start tomorrow. He is ready to go.
I believe it.
Like, every time me and my boyfriend watch something, he's like, why don't they have a gun? Like, mind you, it's usually like somewhere in like New York or some shit. First of all, to legally obtain a gun in the city is typically not as easy as it is out here in the country.
And even to lawfully own a gun here in the city is not easy, especially in New York City. Like, they make it very hard. Yeah, and it's conditional as well. Like, not just anybody not just anybody.
Especially a handgun.
Yeah, no.
Like, it's harder to get a handgun than it is the giant machine guns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but just drive 10 minutes out to Long Island and it's the easiest shit ever to get. And that's the crazy part.
Like, it's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I knew guns were a thing. I'm not stupid. I grew up in New York. Like, it is what it is. Dad's from the country. Once again, it is what it is. But like, I don't choose going into situations of violence because I don't want that in my life.
That's not your ministry.
No. I do not. Like, and plus I feel like once I go to the other side of bad, it's just, I'm gonna stay there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stay there for a long time. So I don't want that in my life. Like, I'm gonna enjoy it way too much. So I'm gonna just stay over here on the good side.
The trap, man.
I mean, that's a reason. I mean, it only takes one thing to make somebody cross over.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what no one got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It could be money, power,
greed, jealousy, envy.
Yeah. Like, motherfuckers could wake up tomorrow and be like, I just want to shoot a bitch.
I don't like her. I'm going to slit her throat. Like, just simple shit like that. Just not like what you look like.
Yeah, like wake up. Just be like, toast stew sounds delightful.
Lord.
I feel like watching some blood drip today. Like,
snap.
Dead ass shit like that I have.
Let's reenact some NCIS episodes.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know if y'all seen the other day, it was in the news. I can't remember where it was, but they caught on camera. Well, actually, it was just a car dash cam camera. This guy was just shooting at somebody because he had road rage.
Yeah, yep. I seen, and in his own car. He's
in
like shooting in his own car.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just like,
I'm so lucky.
That's why I don't honk at people in the car. Honestly,
I try my hardest don't trust not to.
Yeah, because you don't know what anybody is going to pull out their car, and it's like everybody is always in such a hurry nowadays, and they're just out there trying to kill somebody, trying to run somebody over. And my thing is, yes, you can hit me and cause me to get into an accident, but you're not going to get in an accident either. Like, I just don't understand your mindset when it comes to that, because we're all going to get injured or hurt or in a crash.
Or worse.
Yeah. But these road rage incidences, ugh. Mm-mm.
I was just so confused. I'm like, bro, all your windows are up. You're shooting at yourself, basically.
Right.
So wait, he had all his windows up and he was shooting out of his car?
Like, when I tell you this guy was aiming at his windshield, like shooting at his windshield and like shooting at the passenger side window.
First of all, his ears must be
I know,
fire.
Right?
And I was just like, bro, I'm like,
and it always kills me how angry their face gets. Like, this is not just, oh, I don't like you, you cut in front of me.
This is a level of rage. Yeah. Like, this is just pure exact anger and frustration, and I'm just gonna unleash this beast.
But it's so funny though, because it seemed like the way, like, even though the video only showed the part where he started shooting, It's just like a couple of seconds before that, like you see a car like pass by him, like the headlights, and then he starts shooting. So most likely, like from what I took from it is that he cut that car off. That car was either, up real close on his behind or honking at him or something, and decided to get in the other lane and drive past him, and he started shooting. Like that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you saw those headlights like drive past him on his passenger side, he just started like opening fire. And I'm just like, dum, you're in the car. The windows are closed.
Also, your ears.
Melissa's concerned about.
And it's not like he just like went 1, 2. He went 1, 2, 3, 4. He emptied that whole clip in that car.
Yeah.
On himself, like, basically.
I mean, like, have y'all been to a gun range? Like, that shit is loud.
Yeah. They don't
that
have
shit
you
hurts
put on
my ears with the headphone things on.
Right. They don't have you put them on for no reason. So it's just like, come on.
Come on, man. It's tuberculosis. What is it?
Tuberculosis?
Tuberculosis.
Thank you. I was about to say tuberculitis, and I was like, that's not right.
That's not right.
that don't sound right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Let's just stay safe out here, people. Damn.
Listen, when it comes to road rage, both of these ladies know I cuss everybody out in my car.
In the privacy of my car.
Privacy of my car. Windows are closed. Music is loud. So you hear the music before you hear me. Yeah. And I don't honk at nobody unless you about 2 to 1 foot away from hitting my car. That's the only time I honk at a motherfucker, because you're not about to hit my car. So everybody else will get flashing lights and cussed out in my car. I don't middle finger nobody unless, once again, they about to hit my bitch.
Right.
Or cause my ass to die. Shit.
Yeah.
Be safe, y'all. Like, especially as Black women, like, no matter what place you're going to, you need to be cognizant of your surroundings. I don't even know if that was a word, but I'm gonna run with it.
That's it.
Thank you. And just be present and aware. And I know that sucks, but that's just the unfortunate nature of being a woman. It's been that way forever. This is nothing new. Women were never safe, and never will they be safe. Because at the end of the day, men are unfortunately stronger than us. And don't come at me about that. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. I think the last thing I do want to add to this topic is, living in the city that I live in, a lot of people rely on mass transit, and a lot of working women especially do rely on mass transit. I mean, a lot of us aren't fortunate enough to have cars the way we do to like get wherever we need to get. And one thing I do want to say about this is that there's been a lot of like attack on women in subways especially. And what I would like to say is that, yes, we all want to just zone out from the world and just listen to our music while we commute. But at the same time, we need to stay vigilant on that. Like, if you're listening to your music through headphones, earpods, wired cord headphones, whatever, keep that shit low. Like, you should still be able to at least hear your music, but also like hear your surroundings.
Right.
Keep your sound blocking headphones at home when you're trying to ignore your kids.
Yep. Like, keep your load very light. If you're carrying bags, like, try to keep your bag into like a satchel type of bag that you can like put over your body or something, versus a handbag that you have to hold and carry. Like, always use a bag with a strap. Keep your load light. Don't carry like 10 bags at one time, because shit like that slow you down. Make sure you make sure your shoes are always comfortable in case you have to run. Try to keep something that's slightly sharp in your pocket just in case, even if it's like your house key.
I got a wine key
or something, because it inflicts a lot of pain. A house key, you can jab somebody in the eye or jab them in the neck, and that's enough for you. With a house key.
We're talking about New York Tales.
Something.
I've watched many of people get keyed. It is the funniest shit I've ever seen, but it inflicts pain.
If you can get like a little bottle of pepper spray, because you are not allowed to pepper spray somebody, but it's a little bit better than mace. Don't carry mace. Just get some pepper spray. You just want something where you can run to. If you can, if you have a coworker or somebody who can commute with you, something that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Especially here in the city. There's been so many like it's so disgusting that women are being followed into their apartment buildings and being harassed to that extent. It's really disgusting and it's very sad. So just stay vigilant. Stay on the phone with a friend, a family member, somebody. If you can share your location with somebody, if you have one person that you can trust to share your location with and you trust that they'll do the right thing with that, do that. I share my location with my mother. My location sharing with my mother is always on. My location sharing with Mel is always on, but my boyfriend is always on, and that's because it's for safety reasons, not because I want people to track me. It's legit for safety reasons. Because I value my life, and I would like other people to value their life at least to some extent.
At least 25%, you know?
You're right. The bare minimum.
Maybe a little more.
Like at least like 50-50.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'm envisioning a future for myself, so I'm gonna give a little more than 25%.
Right.
But that's just me.
Yeah. I personally don't think like location sharing is an invasion of privacy unless you're being forced to share your location with somebody. It should be optional.
Yes. It is creepy though, so don't get it twisted. It is terrifying how accurate it is. Like I could literally look up on my phone right now what I was doing 5 years ago and 20 days.
Oh yeah.
5 years, 20 days ago to the minute what I was doing. And unfortunately, it's terrifying, but I do love it because I can find old addresses.
Yeah.
I remember I went to that one place that one weekend. It was so good.
Where was it? What was it called?
Oh yeah, there it is.
And it's so funny because sometimes I'll open my Google Maps looking up an address for something.
Oh my god!
And then like I zoom out on my map and I see Mel and I'm just like, oh hey Mel, she's at work.
Yes.
But it's for safety reasons. We started doing stuff like that for safety reasons. Especially she was like she lived by herself in like various of cities and stuff like that, trying to network and all the stuff like that. So it was
trying
always
to network,
for safety.
trying to date, trying to party. Like it was
always for safety reasons.
Or like she would me.
Right, or like she would let me know, like if she's like, if like back in the days, if she'll go on a date, like she'll let me know where she's going and like who she's going with, send me a picture of the person. And she's like, just in case, you know.
Yep, get snatched.
Because it kind of,
because hard out here,
right? Because in a situation like that, it kind of like goes to like this 23-year-old that was just recently found dead in her bed after a date. So it's just like in Connecticut.
Yeah,
it's just like no one had no idea. They just knew she was going on a date. They just had no idea who the person was. Nothing like that. And it's like, and it's also things like that you have to be vigilant about. Like, and the shit that just baffles my mind, that just blows my mind so bad, is the fact that all of this happened in the safety of her home. I can't, like, I don't want to say, because even to now, there's not really any legit details that have came out to say what happened to her. But she died in the safety of her own home. The one place.
The one where she went on a guy with from a dating site. It was like a white guy
Bumble.
or something.
Yeah. She met Lauren. She met a guy on Bumble. They went on a date and they went back to her place. According to his side of the story, they were watching movies, they were drinking, and she fell asleep. And he put her to bed, and he slept in the bed with her. And he woke up like later on in the night, and he said that she had like white foam coming out her mouth and she wasn't breathing, so he called 911. So it's just like no one knows who to believe, what happened.
I don't believe that.
Yeah,
she was just taking drugs just cause while he was sleeping. But that's a weird thing that you would do that before, like once you got home with the guy that you don't know and you're gonna sleep in the same bed with. I would do it before so I could have fun while I'm sleeping with this weirdo.
Yeah, I don't know. The events, it's just such a weird story, and it's even things like that.
Somebody else asleep. That's weird.
I don't even know, but it's even things like that you have to stay vigilant about as well. It's just like, I don't like in that type of situation, like the type of people that we have been throughout life, like honestly, like the only man that knows where I live is the man that I live with. In all my years of dating, like I've never brought anybody over to my home. I've never let anybody pick me up from my house because this is my parents' home and stuff like that. So it's just like out of respect for that and out of understanding that you don't know people till you really know people. And some people out here are fucking psychos. Like they may
Mm-hmm.
not show you that right away, but some people can turn into stalkers. And I'm not willing to deal with stalkers. So I've
Mm-hmm.
never let a man pick me up from my house. I've always met him somewhere. I've never allowed a man to like, or especially on a first or second date, like I'll meet you there. I'm good, bro. I'll meet you there.
Mhm.
So it's things like that you have to stay vigilant on. Like I'm a firm believer on you don't know people
Mhm.
till they show you their actual colors.
And don't get it twisted. We're not saying that you shouldn't have some form of old fashioned views, but in today's society where we just know so much, like Law and Order SVU's on its 25th season, like we watch
Yeah.
this shit all the time. We see the fucked up shit that can happen, dramatic or otherwise, and you have to adapt. Now, if you want a guy to be
Mm-hmm.
chivalrous and somewhat old fashioned, he can still open the door for you at the restaurant. He can
Yeah.
still get your chair. He can try to help you with or suggest things on the menu, do sweet shits like that. But whatever, there's way other ways, huh?
He could open your car door when it's time for you to leave.
If that, because I on the first 2 days, I don't know. You might on the second day you might be able to walk me back to my car. I don't know,
Yeah. Even
because even
online, you
that,
got to stay vigilant.
hell yeah.
Extremely.
I did not
Mm-hmm.
text a guy until after my first date with them and I met them in person and I
Mm-hmm.
felt them out. Then they can get my text. They can do a
Mm-hmm.
text after that. They'd be like, why can't I have your number? Because I don't fucking know you, bro.
Crazy in these streets.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, do y'all have anything else to say about safety? Because I'm kind of excited to talk about these true
No.
crimes.
No, but it's a good intro into the next one.
Yes. Well, if there is something that y'all want us to talk about specifically on safety, go ahead and send us an email or put it in the comments. We'll put it on the topics list and discuss it in the future. But we're going to go ahead and get into our social media moments. That's what that sound was when I was trying to be prepared and loaded up. um, so, our social media moment this week is going out to a Miss Kira Henry, and she is at Kira Moore. She saw this mom on TikTok doing a coming of age ceremony for her daughter, and she threw an intimate dinner for her and her friends. And she had other young women in her life, actually, other women, sorry, not young. And they brought gifts and gave her advice about womanhood and talked about mental health for women. And she said her daughter loved it. And I love this. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw
Yeah.
previous, I know we don't like to talk about this, but there's an example of that on the Cosby Show, like
Mhm.
quite literally.
Yeah.
And men get to have options for their coming out. And
Yeah.
I know my experience when I got my period, they barely talked about that shit
Mm-hmm.
until it was there
Yeah.
and flowing and gross.
Yeah. I think it was a beautiful thing to do because especially now in this day and age, like I think we need stuff like this to be done for women more, for young women more often, where it's
Mhm.
just like we always like the saying says, it takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you have female children, you need a village to like nurture that female, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where like I do understand that boys need it as boys need nurturing as well, but I feel like
Definitely.
people forget the amount of nurturing that a female needs as well. Like there's way more emotional needs that need to be met
Mhm.
than anything else, because as much as a lot of girls don't express that they're always trying to find their place and find, like we said in one of our last episodes, their purpose. I think having other women, especially older women, help you through that is very important. And I feel like every woman have their own experience in life, and then we also have shared experiences, and I think that's something that's very beneficial to younger women who are growing up, especially in today's day and age where you don't know who you want to be. Like you get on Instagram, you get on Twitter, you get on Facebook, you get on whatever platform you love and use, and you see so many different types of women and you don't know exactly who you want to be and who you should be. And now I think the age of role models is dead. That's just
Yeah.
how I personally feel. Like we don't have the same type of role
We
models
don't have
anymore.
good role models
They don't,
anymore.
the value
Mm-mm.
isn't there anymore on it. So I do feel like whether it's like your aunts, older cousins, grandmothers, godparents, your mom's friends, like your friends' parents, like somebody, like I feel like those people are very important, like forming a bubble of people to make you feel secured,
Mm-hmm.
and having like your own personal connection with each and every one of these people. I feel like stuff like that is beneficial because it's just the best thing to do right now, especially for little girls growing up, especially how toxic the internet has become towards women.
Yeah.
It is 100% necessary. So I thought this was a beautiful thing. I wish I had this.
Well, I
Yeah.
would say, okay, Kelly.
Oh, to go along with what Kashana was saying, I think we talk a lot about single parents and single moms in particular, but single fathers. There is a sector of people that are by themselves and they're raising daughters alone. And this is
Mm-hmm.
particularly very important, I think, if you are a single father raising a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and to ground and group your daughter with other women in her life, because we all know a man does not know what a woman goes through and will never understand. But to even put with your own friends who are girls in your little group, with the aunts, the uncles, everything that you were saying earlier, I think is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And we give so much pride and lifting up single moms. But I just want to give a shout out to single daddies out there, because y'all are really doing it.
Shout
We
out.
need more fathers
You damn
figures
girl
in
dads.
girls' lives, but you guys are doing what we need, and I support you. We all support you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is wonderful for both situations.
Yeah, because I think yeah, I do agree with you, Kelly, because I think people forget the importance of fathers in children's lives,
Mm-hmm.
like especially towards girl children. It's just like
Yeah.
your father's the first man that shows you how you should be treated.
Yeah.
And more likely, they haven't been taught how to properly take care for a child by enough teach and inspire their kids
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because they just know what they didn't have.
Mm-hmm. Because the thing about women is, yes, we grow up innately knowing how to quote unquote nurture, because that's just a female's type of instinct. But men don't have that. They're taught to just be growing up tough, rough, and just dealing with it. They really don't have that emotional connection. But for
Mm-hmm.
single fathers to be on their own dealing with a girl, and God forbid they have even more than one girl,
Yeah.
bless your heart. Um, it's something that you cannot be taught. You need that help of other women that are in your community to just help you and guide you through that process.
Yeah. I mean, there's this girl dad that's on TikTok, and his TikToks with his daughters, because he has 3 daughters, and his TikTok of on his daughters is like the most cutest thing ever, because he just like documents various situations, like when his older daughter finally had like her cycle, she finally hit womanhood, and he had to like help her figure out, like, the proper way of using pads if she wants to
Mm-hmm.
use a tampon, and he was just like, it's very weird,
Yeah.
but who else is gonna do it?
Yeah.
And I wish I remember this guy's TikTok name, but he randomly pops up every once in a while.
Is he a white guy?
Yeah, he is. He is. He is.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but it's cute though. It's like it's nice. Like
Mm-hmm.
raise
Well, I
your
think that
daughters
what
right.
yes, well, raise your kids right,
Yeah, your
and
kids in general.
yeah,
Since we're
tackle.
specifically talking about a girl right now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to Kelly's point, I think that some men can be nurturing
Mm-hmm.
because, like, perfect example, like my boyfriend, like his parents weren't necessarily what we would award best parents of the year. So he has technically 3 younger siblings. He's the oldest. And because his parents weren't actively there, he had to help raise his sisters. And he
Mhm.
raised his sisters
Yeah.
And that's not something he was taught, because I love his mother to death, and she has my heart and soul. But there were a number of times where his mother was not a nurturing person to him. It wasn't a, oh, this is my baby, this is my mom's, this is like that. He's my what did they call him? Daddy, mommy's
World.
Boy?
I don't know what. That's an awkward term. I don't like it.
Mama's
Anyways,
world. My heart,
yeah,
my
like
soul.
they don't have that weird mother-son relationship where they're both fucking obsessed with each other. Like,
No, that's perfect.
that is
Mama's boy.
not even near
God.
what they have. Like, they are just at the point where as two adults can have genuine good conversation, and I celebrate that. But there are some men who do adapt and can figure out their shit enough to be a nurturing figure to others.
Yeah.
And but either way, I think as a parent, this is such a hard time for them. As I'm imagining it, because I remember being in the child's seat. So as a parent, I can imagine when I have kids, it's gonna be a shitty time with hormones and emotions and trying to help your child deal with their insecurities while they're also being a neurotic asshole.
Especially with fucking social media in this day and age.
Yes.
It's just rampant. It's just running through these children.
So it's wild out here. So for like this parent to do this for their daughter, like, I know from when I got my first time, number one, I didn't learn about it until about 2 weeks prior, and my neighbor's mom told me about it. And then one day at school, it just happened. My mom had no advice for me. She just showed me where the pads were. She didn't give me any real thoughts or advice. So I felt very let down by her, because she didn't help guide me through this transition. And it didn't have to be this, but it wasn't anything of use, basically.
Right. It was just like, here it is, figure it out.
Yeah. So now you feel very alone, because at this age, everyone's judging everyone. They're once again assholes. And so you feel very alone. You feel very insecure. You're having to go buy products that innately most people make you feel ashamed about, that you're on your period and you're emotional and this and that. So it's like all these things. So having women to talk to and embrace it and understand it a little better as you're getting into it, I feel like has to help young women develop better, secure egos and personalities
with themselves.
Yes. So shout out to those amazing parents out here trying and having these hard conversations, because power to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it. Thank you for setting examples. All right. Well, we wanted to talk about Black true crime cases. So I know Kelli is excited, as well as Shauna. So I'm gonna let y'all go and not talk unless y'all need more examples to fill the time.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
I literally just picked one that like stood out to me the hardest when I had heard about this a couple months ago, even though it happened earlier in the early 2000s. I think 2009, that's when it happened originally. So it's basically still an unsolved possible murder case, a possible homicide. And the woman that it happened to, her name was Matrice Richardson. So
yes,
you heard about it, right?
Oh yes.
So I think she was a Los Angeles resident. She was born and raised in like Los Angeles. Like her family basically moved around that LA County area a lot. And she was 24 years old when she just had disappeared. So I think originally, like, her family did know that she had like some type of mental health issues, but you know, coming from a Black household, and especially around the early 2000s, it was not something that you spoke about really with your family. But she was a college graduate. I don't remember exactly what she was doing for work, but at the time she did disappear, she was out of work and she was living with her grandmother originally. And how they found out that she was missing, it was that her grandmother had said that she randomly like packed a bag one day and she left the house, and she just didn't come back, and she didn't see her for like 2-3 nights in a row, and she just randomly got a phone call from a sheriff's station saying that they had her daughter, that they had her the granddaughter, and she was being held at a jail. And when the grandmother finally was able to get out to the jail to pick her up, it turned out that they had already released her. So originally when she had gotten arrested, it was because she had went to some random diner in Malibu. She went to like a random restaurant or a diner in Malibu, and she had ordered her food. She then there was a group having lunch as well, next, like a couple tables away from her, and she went to sit with them, and she asked them if she can come sit with them, and they let her come sit. They said that she was talking normal, like, and all the stuff like that. They had a good conversation with her. And when it came time for her to pay, she told them like, oh, she forgot her wallet, that she didn't have any money on her. And so and they told her that she can't pay, that she can't leave until she pays, and she has to figure out what she can do to pay. And she just kept saying that she has no money on her. So they called the police. So they called the police on her, and then that's when they took her down to the sheriff's station. So she did have her car on her, and her car was parked in the parking lot. So it wasn't until after her grandmother was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, she has money. Like, how does she tell you that she doesn't have any money? Like, my granddaughter has a job and she makes good money. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So after they had released her, her grandmother was like, no, this isn't right. Like, why would you just release her? That doesn't make any sense. Like, where is she now? And they were calling her, couldn't get hold of her, nothing. And it turned out that in her car, she did have money in the car. She left her wallet and her phone in the car, and police didn't even think about asking her how she got to the restaurant, nothing like that. And they had released her, and then this went on for maybe about like a week or so, and they were searching neighborhoods for her, the neighborhoods in Malibu County. They were searching for her, and one neighbor and somebody in the county had reported that a couple nights, I think it was a couple nights after she was released from jail, that he saw somebody on his backyard camera walking through his backyard, but he didn't think anything of it because the person just like walked through his backyard, and he lived more like on like a desert, in like the more desert part of Malibu County. Melissa, you know, it's a desert.
The fuck? I don't give a fuck where I live. Nobody should be walking through my goddamn backyard.
But his backyard wasn't fenced or anything like that. It was literally just a house here and just nothing but open land behind him.
So they can walk in the front of my house. Why are they walking behind my house?
But
that's weird.
He didn't think anything of it, and then the person just kept walking. They never stopped at his house, nothing like that. And he said that he think it was a woman based off of like the silhouette that was in the camera, and they assumed that it was her as well because of how the silhouette and what the person was wearing, it fit the description in the camera of what the police remembered her wearing when they did originally detain her. And so this went on for months. Like, they went to like, there was an area in Malibu called like the dark canyon, and it's just literally just deserts and hills and just nothing but canyons. So they like literally like one like scope that canyon up and down, left and right, everything like that. And it was probably like months and months and months later, I think it was almost a year later, a random hiker just randomly found like pieces of clothing and reported it to the police that there was just random pieces of clothing here, and they found like jewelry and everything that and the clothing piece of clothing that he found matched the description of what the police had said she was originally wearing. And so they sent back out more search parties out, and they found remains, but the way her remains were found, they were found in like pieces. So they were found in pieces, and I think they found her skull, and I think it was her skull and like it was just disgusting. It was just gross the way they found her skull, because it looked like it had been bashed in, and it looked like it was buried in like it was purposely buried, especially where it was buried, because it was an area that is not very accessible, especially to like vehicles. You would have to hike to get there. You would have no choice but to hike with like small with like small bags and stuff like that just to get over there. And so till to this day, they have no idea what happened to her, exactly what thing. And I know that her family did sue the Malibu Police Department because it's like it was their negligence.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they notified her grandmother that she was being detained, they released her to no one. They just released her out and just let her go about her business. But there was in the report when she was detained overnight that it did say that she was kind of erratic, like she was like talking nonsense and it made no sense what she was talking. So that alone should have let you know that this person was mentally unwell, and you just let them go.
So can I conspiracy theorist over here?
Sure.
All right. So I've talked about it. My man tells me a lot of stories of just fucked up shit that happens around the world. So there's a thing that police officers in many of countries, including our own, they like to pick up people and drive them out to places that they can't get back on their own safely or peacefully, and do all kinds of fucked up shit to them in the process, whether it be just torture, sexual assault, mental and physical torture, just all these things that they do with these people.
Ted
Or they
Bundy.
just leave them, Ted Bundy, like, or they just leave them in the desert or in a cold place or anywhere that they're going to be basically abandoned and drive off.
Yep.
And they be like, oh, well, we released them. They left. They went home.
Yep.
And that's what that sounds like to me. It sounds like they had this girl, they registered her as lockup, they registered her out, but they probably offered to drive her somewhere, and somebody was fucked up that day and had a great time. And unfortunately, she paid the price, because that's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah. I'm sure probably she ran into somebody that was like, oh, a hitchhiker at some point, because the timestamp for the guy who backyard camera caught her on his camera, but like fit the time of her release. Like he saw her in his backyard like a day or two after his release. That's when that video footage was released, saying that this can possibly be her because of the clothes that the person was wearing in the camera. It matched the clothes that they detained her in. So anything could have happened. She could have ran into like a bad apple while she was wandering in the dark canyon desert. Like, you never know. And somebody that was wandering as well could have, did some stuff and whatever. But at this point, the body was just, her remains was just so decayed that there was no way to do a possible autopsy. The only thing that came back to that they said that she was chopped up and her skull looked like it was bashed in based on how they found the skull. So anything could have happened. It's just really sad. Very sad.
Wow.
She's 24 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Scary place out here.
And the way that people talk about her, like her family and friends spoke about her, it's just like they said that she was a very, like, most of the time she was very happy and cheerful. A lot of them did know that she suffered with like depression at some point in her life, but it looked like during this time she was in a better place. Like, she had a good job and she was doing well. Yeah. According to how they spoke about her. And she was a very kind person. She was never a malicious person and stuff like that. So it's just very sad hearing, like, this case like took my heart. I was just like, damn. Yes, especially like being someone's family member and not knowing anything that happened to them and feeling like the system failed you. Like, the people who are supposed to protect her failed her. Yeah. So that's the unsolved murder homicide of Matrice Richardson.
Man.
Wild.
It's like you never know what to say afterwards when you hear these stories.
You don't.
There's nothing that you can say to feel better about it. Well, for me, this one is actually very personal. It happened when we were in college. and I went to school with this girl in high school.
Wow.
So it's a case that I've known from the jump, and it relates to me. And there actually has been a little bit of good that came last year. But yeah, but her name is Faith Hedgepeth. I don't know if maybe Melissa may have heard, because Makari actually went to school with us. Um, she was in the area. We didn't go to the same high school, but she was in the same area, and it was all over the news where we used to live. And what happened was in September, I think September 7th of 2012, um, Faith was at UNC Chapel Hill, and she was beaten to death inside of her off campus apartment. Her roommate discovered her body, and it was just bloody all over the place. She was on a blood soaked mattress, covered in a blanket. She had no clothes on from the waist down. And when her shirt was pulled up, she had all of this semen covering her on her chest and everything. And what's even creepier is there was a note that was written next to her body, and it says, "I'm not a stupid bitch jealous."
What?
And it was just, yeah, it said, "I'm not a stupid bitch jealous." It's horrible English, but that's what it had, the note next to her body. And they also found an empty Bacardi bottle next to her that was used to hit her many, many times in her head.
Oh my
And what happened the day before was she was just minding her business. It was the start of a new term semester, and she was actually a Native American. So she was rushing, I think it's Alpha Phi Omega, might have been the sorority. And she later went home with her roommate. And a few hours later, they went to one of the local clubs and bars downtown in Chapel Hill. They stayed there around like 2:30 in the morning, and I think it was like Faith was extremely sick that night. She went home. Then her roommate left to go somewhere else, and when she came back, that's when she found Faith just dead on the ground of their apartment. Her neighbor and her roommate actually didn't really do much when they did find her. They didn't call the police immediately. She was left on the ground, dead, soaked in blood for a good 5 hours before they called the police.
What?
Yep.
What was the holdup?
They were trying to come up with a plan. That's what I'm thinking. Once the police came, they did their work. They were doing all their discovery information and all that. And they did not find anybody who was wrapped up in killing Faith. They looked through all the camera footage at the bar, the local street cameras. They didn't find anybody who they claim may or may not have done it as a potential suspect. But a few years later, which actually happened to be September of last year, which coincidentally, this happened in September 2012, and it happened last year in September of 2021. It came out in the news that they had a suspect that may have killed her. And when I got that call from one of my friends that I went to high school with, I was shocked. Like, I thought I may have told you and Melissa, but it was just like a crazy, crazy day hearing that. And it was all over the local news in North Carolina. And they had a suspect, and he is currently being held with no bond in a local jail. So they haven't, of course, confirmed if that's him, but they had a whole press conference. There's, of course, a new set of detectives that are on this case because they did close it for a very long time.
Right.
But yeah, it's a very, very sad case that has happened. And her parents were, of course, distraught about it. And the fact that she was Native American, she was very deeply rooted in her culture. And at times she would go to their reservation all the time. And they had a lot of like wakes and ceremonies to just, give some type of help and guidance as they're going through this grieving process with their culture. And it's just really, really sad. She was only 19 years old. She was a year ahead of me in college, and we were great friends in high school. She was we pretty much were on the same path line as far as what classes we took, so we had the same teachers and everything. But she was so well known at our school, and she was always in clubs. She was at the top of her class. I think she came almost to be valedictorian. She was going to be a doctor. That's what she was doing at UNC. Um, yeah, she just had her whole life ahead of her, and she was going to do amazing things no matter what. And for her life to be taken from her like this is just horrible.
That's wild.
Yeah. And what's even crazier is I still follow her because, of course, this happened a long time ago. I still follow her on Instagram. And the last picture that's on her Instagram feed is her receipt that she left because she was a hostess at a restaurant. And she took a picture of her receipt. She put a heart around her name, of her hostess name, and it was a nice tip that she had received from one of the customers that she was with. And that is the last picture, 4 days before she died. And the comments underneath her picture are just so sad because you know she was thinking she was going to be there the next day, and she wasn't.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I don't even know what to say. That's
It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the other crazy thing too is I don't know what sparked me to look it up last year, but when we found out that a suspect was named, I went to the apartment complex that she was at, where she used to live, and that apartment complex is closed permanently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I wonder if they closed it because of that whole incident or something else happened.
Yeah.
But I found that to be very... No, I wouldn't. But do you know how many people in places, apartment complexes, houses, neighborhoods have crime? But they don't shut that down.
Right. They sell
so I
houses.
Wonder what happened.
Right. Like there's houses where murders happen and they still sell them anyway. They just clean them up and sell them. Apartments, everything.
Yeah.
Shit, it's probably cursed now.
Right. And she had a corner building of the apartment complex.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. So really, she could have got... Whoever did it could have gotten away with it very easily. So, but I thought that was very eerie that it just shut down permanently.
Yep. That's crazy. Like that sounds like somebody had the intentions of doing whatever happened to her. Like they took advantage of her in a very... when she was at her most vulnerable.
Yeah. At a club, having fun. Somebody was watching her there. I know for sure.
That sounded like somebody was making advances at her over and over and over and just, you know, followed her to her home.
Yeah.
That sounds like one of those stories where you're being followed and not realize that you're being followed, especially if you're drunk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she was sick. She was drunk and sick.
But then it also goes to the fact, like, what's up with her roommate? That's what we're all trying to wonder with. Because she never called. Yeah, she never called in an amount of time that you would if you're concerned about somebody.
And if I came home to see my roommate in a bloody dead ass fuck mess,
I'm running out that apartment.
I am out and I'm calling the cops. If I'm just coming home, I'm not awake yet, or I haven't been to sleep yet. I was not prepared for this shit. I'm calling the cops. Y'all need to come clean this shit up. Y'all need to call people. What? Yeah. I would be calling them motherfuckers so goddamn quick.
Yeah.
5 hours? That's ridiculous.
Something's up.
Yep. It's fishy.
Yeah.
Or the roommate did it, because that note doesn't make any sense for a guy to write that.
Exactly. And like, even the handwriting didn't look right.
And it could be somebody the roommate knows.
Like a jealous friend or something.
Yeah.
Like
because for a guy to write that sounds like malicious. And usually guys are saying that out of their pride, not out of a malice place.
Yeah.
So even though it was very poor grammar and English, like the way it kind of words together does not seem like something a guy would write.
Yeah. Even the handwriting didn't look right.
Yeah. How about you, Mel?
Well, I actually, in the true creepy weird way I am, I looked up serial killers.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I found two, but I'll only talk about one. So I found on ranker.com, there was a guy named Henry Louis Wallace. He did in the 90s. Told you shit wasn't safe out here in these streets. Down in Charlotte, North Carolina, he raped and murdered multiple women. They tied him to 10 and his thing was strangulation or stabbing. And they didn't arrest him until 1994. And he confessed to all of it.
Wow.
And they suspect he has killed way more than he actually admitted to, but he is serving his time on death row as we speak.
Dang.
That's kind of like going back to that Ted Bundy. They suspect that there was way more horrific rapes and murders that he committed.
Oh yeah,
than what he confessed to. I mean, that's how it is with most serial killers. They do think that they have killed way more than what they confess to.
Mm-hmm.
There was one on this list that the guy, either he was admitted or suspected of 93 murders.
Good God.
And they only had, let me go back to the list. I feel like they only had enough to actually charge him for like, I think it was only like 10 or something like that. Wild.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
80s and 90s was a wild place, B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
These streets was wild.
Oh, that's why I stay my ass in the house.
I mean, these streets is still wild, but
yes, 1000%. No, there was one on here. My second one was this guy named Craig Price. When he was 15 years old in 1989, he was arrested for killing his neighbors, and then he admitted it to murdering the neighborhood woman, also a different woman, when he was 13.
What? Wait, yeah. He was 13?
So when he was 15, he was arrested and he admitted to murdering a family or neighbors. And then he also admitted when he was 13, he killed another woman in the neighborhood.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn.
And because he was tried as a minor, he had to be rescheduled to be released at 21. And then he was held back on other charges. And as of 2017, it was still doing a 25-year sentence. And that was only because of he killed an inmate. Where's that other one I saw on here that was way crazy? This list is insane. There's one on here about a guy in Richmond in 2006.
Lord.
No, not that one.
It may sound weird, but like I just want to be in the mind of a serial killer. Like, what sparks you to do that?
Yeah.
From what they say, it's just they don't have the same instincts and feelings that we do, and their instincts take them a whole different set of places.
Yep.
And it starts when they're so young.
Mm-hmm. The signs are usually there when they're very young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we had our New Orleans trip, I made these ladies go to the Museum of Murder. Because this is the shit I like to read about.
That was a good museum, though.
It was interesting. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. Well, while you're looking for your next one, you may have heard in the news lately of a guy named Kendrick Johnson. He, back in 2013, I believe, he was 17 years old and a junior in high school in Valdosta, Georgia. So that says a lot. But he went to school and did not return back home the next day. And it was found out that the next day during school, his body was found dead, rolled up in a wrestling mat.
Yes.
In the school gym.
Under the bleachers, right? Under the bleachers of the gymnasium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, yeah. And
I remember that.
They're suspecting that it's a student-on-student crime.
Yep. And have you seen
the suspect, their dad is like some influence in the town or some shit?
Yeah,
well,
because
he's
he
in
was
the
beaten.
FBI.
Yeah, his face
Oh,
was
well,
beaten in and something like that. The
Yeah.
reports had said his face was like completely like smashed and beaten and on like to like non-recognition.
Well, they compare this whole thing to Emmett Till,
Mm-hmm.
the way he was so bludgeoned.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
But
have
wasn't
not
it
seen,
going over like wasn't it because they went to some party or something? Like the way the timeline was, like they went to a party and he like
yeah,
danced or something with a girl or something stupid.
yeah, something like that, and things got twisted and turned,
Mm-hmm.
and teenagers acting like teenagers, basically.
Mhm.
Assholes.
Yeah. But
With
if you
poor
have not
communication
seen
skills.
the documentary Finding Kendrick, it's on Stars Network. If you have it, I would definitely recommend watching it. I watched it about 2 weeks ago, and it's narrated by Jennifer Lewis, and also it's directed and filmed by Jason Pollock, which anything that Jason Pollock makes is just phenomenal. He gets to the point, he knows exactly what's going on, he does his research, everything. But he finds out information that these detectives and cops of Georgia, Valdosta, Georgia cops and detectives, that they did not even go deep into, let alone want to look into, because he is black. They don't care about anybody who is dark skin tone in Georgia. But the fact that immediately the day that they found his body and the detectives were there, they called it that they did not see any type of foul play. How are you going to call no foul play when you
With
see
his
somebody
body
who is
wrapped
bludgeoned
up in a rug?
Yeah.
Yep.
Trying to tell the parents that it doesn't work. But definitely
and especially
watch that.
right, and it's not even like his body was just left there. It was purposely wrapped up and stored away.
Yeah. Like it was placed. Sorry.
Yeah. They trying to say that he tried to get his shoe out of the mat, like he climbed into the hole. Ain't nobody can even climb. Yeah, they were trying to say that he climbed into the hole trying to get his shoe from the bottom of the mat, when you know those things are so goddamn heavy. There's no way a human can fit through that hole when a mat is rolled.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna lie better.
Right.
You're not fooling anybody.
And I thought there was reports where they said like the way his face was, it was just beaten in.
Yeah. It is. You can Google it. I wouldn't Google it, but it's out there.
I'm good.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. But it's out there and you can tell.
Again, these streets is crazy.
Yup. So I found it, y'all. So one of the highest and most worst of the black serial killers is a guy named Samuel Little. He was convicted of 3 murders in California in 2014. While he was in prison serving these multiple sentences, in 2018 he confessed that he had a higher victim count, and between 1970 and 2005 he stated that he killed over 93 people across 19 states. And the FBI in 2020 could only link him to 50 of his confessed murders.
Dang.
And he died in December 30th, 2020 at 80 years old.
Oh, wow. Recent.
But it took until he had from 1970 to 2005, and he didn't get caught until 2014.
Yeah. And technology was getting better and better.
Like,
yeah, especially if he's like traveling across state lines and doing this. Like, once you cross over a state line and even county lines,
especially in 1970,
right? Yeah. They don't start
you can get away with everybody.
Yeah.
They don't try to link things from other states and stuff like that, because it's just like, remember, you have to, in a police department, especially if you're in a county or whatever, you have to request that type of information to be sent to you and stuff like that. So it's like no one's thinking that, hey, maybe this murder in Alabama is linked to a murder in Tennessee. Let's find out. It's not, they don't do things like that.
So wild.
It always takes that one specific person to realize a pattern, or like be like, hey, I heard something similar like this happened in another place.
Yeah.
But you know the wild part? He didn't admit to anything after 2005 to until those 3 murders in 2014. So what the fuck were you doing
Chilling.
in those less than 10 years, B? What were you doing?
Chilling. Because
Murderers don't do that. They murder.
No, you'd be
They don't-
surprised. Because
They'll sit slow.
yeah, because there's this story
Oh
about
yeah, Kennedy is 93 over freaking how many years? Like he takes his time, but they don't
Yeah.
stop.
Because even to that, I was listening to another true crime podcast where they're talking about I completely forgot his name, but his majority of his murders, well, they started as burglaries. He used to just burglar homes and tie the people up and then like rob them. And one time it turned deadly because the person got out their restraints and tried to fight him back, and he basically like just bludgeoned this guy to death in front of his wife that was tied up and stuff like that. And he got away with it. And then he committed, I think it was multiple burglaries like that, where he would tie up and restrain people. And then a few of those burglaries turned into murders. And they knew there was a pattern there. I think he was called the San Bernardino County something. And then he stopped for like 4 or 5 years and then started again after that. And then he stopped again and started again after that. And then he stopped again, went to move somewhere else and did the same thing, exactly the same thing.
That's
then,
what he was doing. He didn't stop. Like they usually only stop because of jail
or family,
because they move somewhere,
or they start a family. Because that's exactly what happened with this guy. He started a family, got married, had kids. No, he divorced his wife. Mind you, this guy was married while he was doing all this stuff.
Of course,
the first time he was doing it, and his wife would just be like, "No," he would just tell me he has to work late because he was very specific about it. He'll do like 2 burglaries a week and stuff like that. So his wife would think that he's at work. And she would never suspect, like, oh, where did we get this new microwave from? Like, oh, where did we get? Oh, you bought me jewelry? Like there was no suspicion about what he was doing because the guy had a good job. So it was never like, oh, we can't afford this. How did you get this? And
that's
then,
the creepiest scene.
Dude divorced his wife, went to another state, got remarried, started a whole ass family, stopped murdering for like 4 or 5 years, and then went back to murdering.
Jeez.
And then, and it just took one person to see, it took one detective to realize, like, hey, this exact thing happened in this other county. Let me go there and find out some stuff.
Yeah.
And
it took one guy. And I think that guy till to now, he's serving a life sentence. And they convicted him like in the 2000s and like I want to say like 2010 to like 15 time frame. And he's still serving a life sentence. Mind you, the man has grown ass children now. And everybody was so shocked, and it was just like, doesn't make any sense. My daddy is a murderer and a burglar.
I'm more concerned with the murder part.
Yeah, but it's
everybody got this shit taken every day. Don't gotta murder
crazy.
me though.
It's crazy. Cool. It's crazy.
Dang, man.
Oh my gosh. All right, y'all have any more that y'all want to talk about?
No.
All right, cool. Well, not really, but moving on. All right, well, let's wrap this sucker up and we're going to get into our weekly recommendations. That is just anything that we feel will help improve your weekday, month, feeling, moment, whatever. And that could be music, movies, TV shows, advice, anything. So, ladies, who'd like to go first?
I'll go.
Thank you.
So mine's very quick and easy. Somebody who is constantly on either a computer, my phone, or my tablet. And what I have to have at all times are blue light glasses. Blue light glasses are phenomenal. They help to stop the tension and the strength and the agony that you may have when you're looking at a screen for too many hours at a time. And I have at least 8 pairs in different parts of my apartment. So I would definitely recommend blue light glasses. You can get them anywhere for cheap.
Awesome.
All right.
You want me to go, Keisha? You got it.
No, I'll go. So mine is the show recommendation.
Nice.
So I'm pretty sure we've all either seen the show the movie Jack Reacher, because it was a movie originally, and Amazon turned it into a show.
Reacher?
Reacher, yeah. Bomb ass show. I literally stayed up till 3:00 last night watching this show.
Damn.
My man's fell asleep on me. And normally I'm a person that KO when I'm watching shows, but for some reason, like, first of all, the guy who plays Jack Reacher in the first place,
delightful,
beautiful man.
So nice.
Ugh. All the masculine energy over there, and I think that's probably why. Yes, she's beautiful. And
talented.
Yes. And I don't know, there was just something about the show. There's just so much going on. And it's just like, I just want to know who's like killing everybody, even though he's also killing everybody.
But they deserve it. It's fine.
They usually deserve, they definitely 100% deserve it. And the way he gets his information is just like total, like, yeah.
He does an auditor's perspective of how he investigates.
Yeah, because he's 100. Because that was his job when he was like in the military originally. Like, he was head investigator. He knows how murderers act, how criminals act. Like, he's very thorough about it. But he's also like a huge teddy bear in this show. Like, it's great. It's great. I recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime. You got Prime, you got access. Really good show. I got like 2 more episodes left. And mind you, these are like 48, 50 minutes long episodes.
Oh, it was worth it for you.
It's a really good show.
And I started watching it yesterday. And I only got 2 left.
Wow.
So that tells you a lot.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I concur. All right. Well, mine, you just inspired me. I just changed my recommendation. So I love a good action movie. Tell me how y'all feel. So I know action movies, how we watched them growing up. I feel like action movies now just have too much going on to where I don't understand what the movie's about. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, I feel like they do too much with plot lines nowadays. They just throw too many twists and turns in there, and it's just like, all right, get to the point.
Or they have too many like plot lines, or they have too little context to the existing plot line. So all you see is action scenes, but you don't know what the fuck is actually going on.
Right, like they get in the elevator and start fighting. What happens to just getting in the elevator, feeling the tension? Everybody gets off the elevator, and that's it.
Yeah, like there was no quip for how the energy felt, so whatever. Anyways. So we watched on HBO Max this movie called Nobody, and it has the guy from Better Call Saul as the main character.
Great movie.
It was so good. It was a easy, simple plot line, not overcomplicated. He kicked ass, literally took names, and I'm all about it. I highly recommend it if you like action movies.
I just love that every time somebody asked him, who are you? He's like, I'm nobody.
Nobody.
That's it.
Now I take that as a threat. And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to leave you alone.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yes, check those out if you want some good recommendations. Thank you, Miss Kelli and Miss Kishana.
Thank you, Miss Mel.
Glad to be here, guys. Well, I think that's all for this week. Are y'all ladies ready to go?
Yes, we are. Send us out.
I need a nap. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. You've been listening to High Tea with Mel, Kelli, and Kay. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram at HighT_podcast and on Twitter at HighTPod1. And take a peek in the description box for all things High Tea with the links. And we'll talk to you same time, same place next week.
MKK out.